Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. I hope we are now going live. So today we are bringing on to our broadcast the lovely James Twigger. He comes from a company called Accounting for Everything. So over the last few weeks, he's been extremely busy sorting out all the new tax changes, all the new laws. And today he's going to give us an update with regards to the announcements by Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor of our Exchequer, on all the new things that we are hoping over the next few months to make some changes to our lives. So really pleased to have James with us. He's one of our founding members of Ambition Growth Network. So please welcome him to the screen. Here he comes. Happy days.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you're well.
Yeah.
Morning, James.
Hello. Morning. It's nice to see you. So you messaged me earlier. You've been on holiday for a week.
I have, 4th of July, we disappeared down to Cornwall. It was lovely. So,
it's amazing to get back out again, isn't it? And just kind of, try and switch off. But from the sounds of it, you haven't switched off.
No, I chose to take a week off just when the summer statement was announced and then get back yesterday just in time for the new announcements as well. So it's,
Busy time, isn't it? I was going to say, I don't envy you being in that kind of industry right now. It's lots of changes, and I've been listening to some of your, so every weekday morning you kind of go live in your group as well, kind of telling people all the updates and stuff, which has been really fantastic. Just trying to keep on top of it, isn't it?
There's been so much going on. I mean, we started off doing a one-off webinar back in March. We had so many questions. We tried to keep it to half an hour. There were so many questions. We did it again, and then we did it again. So it ends up Monday to Friday, the whole of lockdown. 2 weeks ago, we cut down to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then this week, I was going to still try and do it, but today was the first time we've done it this week, and it has been a heck of a week with updates.
Been a week, hasn't it? Which is perfect timing, because we booked this call in quite a while ago, actually. But I was like, perfect timing. I know we've had quite a lot of our members kind of asking questions and kind of been really happy about some of the announcements and a little bit kind of unsure how the other ones are going to affect them. So we're really going to pick your brains today. So it'd be really great.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to run through all of it. It's no problem.
That's really good. We've got quite a few people watching live. So we're going live this morning into the Coronavirus Business Support Group, and we're also going live into our Ambition Growth Network as well. And after this, we will save it onto our YouTube channel. So you're going to get lots of coverage. So we're going to spend about 45 minutes running through kind of everything you can tell us to help our businesses and help us through this really tricky time, really, and just making sure we're not missing any really important updates and things. If anybody that's watching would like to ask any questions, you can ask James any questions that you wish to. Pop them in the box. Do make sure, though, that you do give StreamYard permission to share your picture. Otherwise, when we pop it up on the screen, it just says Facebook user, and it doesn't look so cool. So make sure you give permission to them first. Any questions, as I said, pop them up. We're more than happy to answer those as we go through. But James, I'll pass it over to you. If you can kind of try and sum up for us this whole week, it'd be awesome.
Really well. I mean, the first thing I want to mention to people is going back to the original announcement. So back in March, we had the budget, and then we had a number of after the lockdown, we had more announcements on the furlough scheme and the more important self-employment grant. So for anybody that's watching that is self-employed and hasn't yet either checked their eligibility or applied for the grant, the deadline for the first tranche, that first grant, is on Monday. So just before we kind of crack on with what's happening this week, please do make sure you go back and have a look, or just have a look on HMRC, check the eligibility for the self-employment income support scheme. And you've got till Monday. Once that deadline's passed, you won't be able to go back and apply for that. So so that's the first thing.
Monday. Have you got, obviously there's
13th, I believe.
13th.
So Monday the 13th. So it's been open for a few months. But the HMRC have set that, the government have set that deadline of Monday for that first to apply for that. So that clock is ticking now.
It's ticking. Oh my gosh. I was just thinking, because there's going to be an awful lot of information that comes out of your head right now. Afterwards, maybe if we can have a little summary, perhaps, that we can put under the post.
Absolutely. Well, I've done one. I've done a kind of a thing which I'll post, and I'll also point the key points as well. So if anybody wants to kind of get in contact with me, my the Facebook page is Accounting for Everything with a number 4, and we post all the updates on there as well. So there's quite a few bullet points. I said we stream our daily webinars, Monday, Wednesday, Friday on there as well. So there's quite a lot of content on there as well. But if you can't find something easily that you've got a question on, just send us a direct message on the Facebook page. No problem at all to help out. I'm more than happy to answer questions. So
yeah. So we've got a nice little message in. The lovely Brian, who came on our show.
Morning, Brian.
We'll say good morning to Brian. So yeah, make sure if you are commenting to give StreamYard your details, and then we get your lovely smiley face and your name. How cute is that? Lovely. So
before kind of run through on the economic update, the summer statement, I just want to kind of run through as well yesterday's announcements, if that's okay. So,
yes, absolutely.
Outdoor pools, grassroots sports, outdoor theatres, and music can restart tomorrow. Again, outdoors only, socially distanced, so that's great news for many of our clients as well. So Monday, nail bars, spas, tanning salons can all open on Monday. There's some very strict rules with that. Also, treatments around the face are considered high risk, so a lot of those aren't allowed to start yet. But again, no, my wife is desperate to get nails done, so
I have my hair done. Have you seen? I've had my hair done.
Oh, it's lovely.
Oh, I know. I was like, I got rid of the greys, chopped most of it off. But I've got to say, going in there and having to wear a face mask for that amount of hours, and there's all these protective screens, it did feel very clinical. But as I said, obviously, it's nice to see everyone's taking it seriously and kind of protecting yourselves from that point of view. But it does make it feel normal.
There's a lot of new guidance relating to the nail bars. They've got to have a plastic between the beautician and the customer. So there's lots of rules. So I'm sure that anybody who's in that industry has probably got a lot of advice on that. But again, any questions at all, you can always give me a call. So that was that on Monday. And then we also look after a number of gyms as well. So great news for them that the indoor gyms and indoor pools and leisure centres can reopen on Saturday, the 25th of July. So that's really good news.
Very looking forward to it. I'm a member of a lovely place called Gaia Spa down here in Plymouth. And I've really missed it, I've got to say, for the last 4 months when we've needed those kind of facilities and kind of had this wonderful weather and all the opportunity of not being kind of stuck in the office. Yeah, it's such a shame that they had to close. So yeah, that'll be first.
So that's great news for the businesses who can finally reopen. There are still a number of businesses that aren't able to yet. So indoor theatres, nightclubs, casinos, indoor play areas. My son's desperate to get in and playing indoor with the ball pool, but said we're not able to yet. Bowling alleys, I think AMF Bowl and Hollywood Bowl have got a bit of a campaign that they're just starting to try, and they don't see why they should be closed when bars and everything are still able to, so they think they can socially distance. So again, we'll wait and see what happens, but bowling alleys still have to be officially closed at the moment. Exhibition centres as well are on that list of businesses that cannot. So we're slowly reopening, we're slowly getting there, but we're not there yet. So that's kind of, I just wanted to summarise exactly what came out yesterday or last night and caught us by a little bit by surprise as well.
It did, I was very surprised when they came out with those things, and I think it's just keeping up to date with it all, isn't it? Because there's so much information bombarded at kind of crazy times, and it doesn't seem to be in any flow. A lot of the kind of things that are coming out as well don't seem to really have much common sense to them either. I don't know about you, whether you understand some of them. I mean, I was watching a bit of the telly this morning, and they were talking about obviously men's beards, and men's beard you can shave, but you're not allowed to do waxing or eyebrows, and like the finer detail just seems like sometimes they're plucking it from the air. But again, it's difficult for those businesses perhaps that are still impacted and not able to reopen to understand why they're doing it and how financially they can survive through this.
I've got no excuse to have my beard still, so just my lazy holiday beard. So yeah, sorry for that. I should. No one's judging me at home. We're looking more like a tramp, but
fine. I think we're still in lockdown mode. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I've still got my shorts and t-shirt on in the office, so it's fine. It's but bro. So yeah, obviously what we're here to talk about is more so summarising the announcements that came out from Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, on Wednesday. So yeah, it was I think what's the word? When he took office, just before the budget. So if you remember the previous, so he was the Chancellor for a week before the original budget, and that's when we could see what was kind of happening across the world, and we were starting to have those first cases in the UK. So he had to do a budget, which wasn't the budget that anyone would have had planned at the time. So he introduced that. So what we've seen since then, just again to clarify, the event that we had on Wednesday was the summer statement. It was an update. It wasn't a budget. It wasn't what they described as a fiscal event. There were no kind of economic forecasts from the Office of Budget Responsibility that we normally see. There was no long-term planning, tax planning announced, and that's the sort of thing that we would get in the budget. What he did announce is we normally have the budget the last couple of years in March time. We are going to have an autumn budget this year. So we are going to find out probably October, November time how the government are going to start clawing back, whether that's an increase in corporation tax. We've heard, many people have heard about the triple lock, which is they're not going to increase the tax, national insurance or VAT. Some of the newspapers have suggested that they might be about to break that. We might see national insurance again, whilst the government have been very quiet about tax increases across the board with all of these. When they did announce the self-employed scheme, that was the one thing that the Chancellor let slip, is they are reviewing the way that self-employed are being taxed at the moment. So we might see, well, we're expecting to see national insurance increase for the self-employed, currently paying 9%. For class 4 national insurance. Whereas say, as an employee, they pay a lot more. So what we might see is the self-employed national insurance rates going up. But it might be as a balancing the self-employed who've never had any of the benefits like statutory sick pay, they might be entitled to that now. So we'll see what happens. That's one of the theories. We'll worry about that in the autumn. But this announcement on Wednesday wasn't a budget. It was a mini budget. It was a forecast, and it was an opportunity for them to make some kind of emergency decisions and changes that will help us get through the next 3-6 months, really. And that's what we saw. So we heard that the gross domestic product, or the UK's debt to GDP ratio, has broken the 100% mark. So our amount of country's debt is more than we turn over as a country in the year. It's the first time since 1963 that's happened. He also mentioned about we had the monthly record drop in GDP, or reduction in it was over 20%, 20.4% in April, the economy dropped by, which is, again, a record amount. So these are the kind of the times that we're in, these kind of worrying times, about the government having to try and find this balance. They want to support business. They can't keep throwing money at it forever, which is why we've had to, they have defiantly said that the furlough scheme will end in October. And that kind of leads me on to the first thing he announced, that was the the coronavirus, the job retention bonus scheme. So as an employer, if you've had to furlough staff, or if you're a director and you have had to furlough yourself, as long as those staff are still on the books in January, so that'd be the January pay, you will then be able to apply in February for £1,000 per employee that was furloughed, even if they were only furloughed for 3 weeks, which was the original kind of minimum furlough period. You would be able to claim £1,000 per employee that's still on the books in January, which is great. I think it caught everyone by surprise. No one really expected it, especially HMRC. I don't know if anybody watched the Martin Lewis show and seen the guy that's been on a few times, who's the head of HMRC. He's normally very much towed the line with the government and kind of shared the same, whether we've been talking about I don't know if many of you be aware about the excluded campaign for those that haven't qualified for any of the government schemes. There's also the forgotten LTD for directors who haven't qualified for anything. But they've kind of towed the line with the government. So apart from this, where he has actually written to Rishi Sunak and stated that they don't believe that there is a benefit of this bonus scheme to the UK. So they think it's actually going to cost the government money, this scheme, rather than save money, and which I think is why no one really expected it. I think it's interesting, but it's a great scheme for those of you who are bringing back employees. What we might be doing effectively is kicking the redundancy can down the road for 3 months, from the end of October when the when the furlough scheme ends, to the end of January when people get their £1,000, and then see you later. Thank you very much for your
delaying the inevitable sometimes.
So we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
And the other thing was, I mean, the great thing was that I think everyone's praised is the Kickstart scheme. So that's the bringing in the jobs, or creating new jobs for 16 to 24-year-olds. So again, giving money, paying 6 months of wages. The government will cover the cost of 6 months, which is brilliant. They're going to be really pushing apprenticeships, really going to be pushing training schemes. So it's really going to be a positive thing to get the young back, or get the young into work. I mean, whether they're coming out of school, whether they're coming out of college or university, they need jobs, really. So again, this is going to be.
And my daughter's just turned 21 actually, and she's in a situation where she's just come back from Africa. She's been over there volunteering at a monkey sanctuary, come back and applied for lots of jobs, literally at the end of January, the beginning of March, and then obviously had all these job opportunities, and literally everybody decided at that point to stop taking people on. And I said she's had to just take like a packing bags at Waitrose kind of job, obviously as a temporary solution. But I said, a lot of people in that, a lot of her friends, a lot of people that age group are really struggling, I think, to try and find suitable jobs. The care industry seems to be really kind of opening up, obviously, for opportunities, and so does kind of the shopping side of things as well. Those jobs are available. But
we act for a number of kind of care agencies, and the growth that they've seen recently is huge. Actually, delivery companies as well. We've got a number of kind of self-employed delivery drivers who've now set up their own companies. They've now got their own drivers because their demand. So I mean, what we've seen is, yes, sadly there are some businesses who have really struggled, but what we've been really kind of impressed, I mean, it's kind of blown us away, the amount of businesses that we've seen. I'm not a massive fan of the word, but they've pivoted their business, but they've really kind of updated, they've tweaked it, whether they've gone online, whether they've kind of adjusted their services or done delivery. It's been fantastic to see how businesses have really adapted. They've not just sat there and in the corner and just kind of tried to hide away from it. Many people have really taken this opportunity and run with it, and this has been really, really good, really kind of positive, and I hope that's the attitude that's going to get us through this.
Yeah, I think I put a post out about that the other day about how we deal with change and adversity and our mindset to that. And actually, as humans, we can adapt really, really quickly if we put the right mindset and the right kind of education and the forecasting in there from that point of view. And I think a lot of people in our group in the Ambition Growth Network, I said, being surrounded by a network of real ambitious growth mindset people, and to kind of be able to kind of bounce ideas of how we can change our businesses to encompass the new normal that's coming out of this. And again, obviously looking at ways of scaling as well, because I think a lot of small businesses swap their time for money, don't they? They've got a kind of service that they can only kind of do a one-to-one service. And again, especially in like some of the industries that are really struggling at the moment, so in the beauty industry and stuff like that, they can only do one-on-one. And I was speaking to quite a few people, like driving instructors and stuff like that. So the people that have had those real difficult times where they can't do their one-on-one kind of service, but looking at opening up and seeing what other subsidiary services they can do, because a lot of them have got so much talent and knowledge that actually doing online courses or looking at kind of getting multiple streams of income from other entities that can go more online, whether that be through doing videos or education or kind of teaching what they do to other people.
Multiple streams of income is kind of the buzz thing at the moment. You need to be looking at that. I mean, it's no longer one job for life, one kind of stream of income, whether that income is from multiple employments that we're seeing, kind of having kind of side self-employment, property. There's so many different options to actually be generating money. Like internet sales, we've got a client that's they're plumber by day, but they've got an online shop that sells staples and just really random things that you wouldn't even think about. And but actually there is a market for these things, and it's just you grabbing those opportunities. And like I said, what we've seen in that case, if they can't do one job, then they can still have an income from the other. Again, property investment's another thing that we're doing a lot of. We're Progressive approved accountants. With Progressive are a big kind of network of kind of property training company, and we're getting a lot of kind of referrals through from them at the moment for people that have kind of looking at how that they can use the cash that they've got more efficiently, so structuring their income. Actually, from a tax point of view. So going off on a bit of a tangent now, but
I think as again, obviously, I mean, my background's property, and as I've done lots of training with Progressive and other companies as well. And I think a lot of the time, it's people don't quite understand how to work the system to best suit their needs. As I said, obviously making sure they're declaring all of their income, but also having an accountant that understands the multiple differences within the different industries. Because again, having someone that understands property when it comes to having an accountancy firm that doesn't, there's so many differences. And I think you need to make sure, as I said, obviously when you are looking for an accountant or if you're looking at changing, that you ask the right questions, isn't it? And they understand kind of what you do, how you do it. And,
I've been kind of focusing on property the last kind of 6 months. Well, for 6 months, the last 3 months, all I've been doing, my job, I mean, I haven't done a set of accounts or tax return in 3 months because I'm part of it. Luckily, I've got a team, 10 of us in total. But I've got another director, Nick, who's absolutely brilliant at getting the work done. All I've been doing is kind of supporting our clients. I've been on the phone, on Zoom, doing these kind of things, just really helping people. And that's kind of where I kind of very passionate about. And that's hopefully something, like I said, we're still doing our webinars Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And I often spend a couple of hours then following up on the queries that come from that. And that's what I love doing. And so it's great that we've kind of got a business model that I can allow me to step away a little bit and even have a few days off down in Cornwall if needed. So it's
we all need to kind of start working more on our businesses rather than in them as well, isn't it? And I think if we are going to be successful and we are going to grow and we're going to be able to become a lot more kind of independent going forward, we need to understand a lot of these rules. And I find a lot of business owners come into our group or kind of buy property and don't understand some of the rules, and they don't understand how business works. They don't understand how the tax works, and they're so used to delegating everything off to the experts. But actually, if you've got a core understanding yourself, it can give you that bigger umbrella of knowledge to be able to work out what the best options are, isn't it? So although, yes, we're going to pass all of our stuff over to you guys to work out the crunch of the numbers, etc., having an understanding of what's going on in the world obviously makes it a much better option from that point of view, which is why we're kind of interviewing people on a weekly basis of things that we know that we need to know, isn't it? But going and delving a bit deeper with it to have a better understanding and to help our kind of community to get a better understanding of all these things that we need to know.
I'm conscious that 45 minutes probably isn't enough time to kind of run through everything, but if anybody does have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. There's a WhatsApp link on our Facebook page, so you can just kind of click on that, it comes through to my phone. So I said, if anybody does have any questions, I'm always happy to help. And with whatever you've got.
Fantastic. No, that's really good. I really appreciate that. One little question I had actually, which obviously quite a few people have spoken to me about, is the self-employment stuff. So if you are obviously employed and you are self-employed as well on the side, a little side hustle from that point of view, at what level do you need to start then declaring your income? I've been told it's about £1,000 roughly.
That's correct. Yeah, so that is, it's income of £1,000, so it's not profits of £1,000. So what HMRC did, or the government kind of realised that people were doing quite a lot more. They were doing a lot more of, as eBay became more of a thing, as the Facebook marketplace, people were buying and selling things all the time. And it wasn't just they were selling their own household items, people were actually generally buying things to sell at a profit. It's that line that crossed between a hobby business and an actual business. So what they basically said is, well, to make life easier, as long as you're under £1,000, you don't need to worry about it. You get basically an allowance of £1,000.
Is that per year, James?
Per year, per tax year that falls into. Sorry, my phone's going off again. Put it on. Problem is, I've got a Mac. I absolutely love it, and it's all integrated. But I put Do Not Disturb on my phone, but it still flashes up on the screen on the MacBook and on the watch, and yeah.
That's all over the place.
But yeah, so that's the £1,000. So yeah, you basically get an allowance for £1,000, and that's on top of your 12.5 income as well, your tax-free allowance. So yeah, once your income does go above £1,000, that's when you would need to register for self-assessment and declare that to the taxman. Obviously, if a business is setting up and makes a loss in the first year, so it might be that you've had to invest in equipment or a van sometimes, that sort of thing. If you make a loss in your self-employment, the tax rules allow you to offset that loss against your other income. So if you are employed and you're paying tax in that employment, Again, sometimes even if your income is less than £1,000, it might work out better to register for self-assessment because you can offset that loss against your other income and potentially get a tax refund on the tax you've paid in your employment. So again, if there's anyone who's got any more questions on that, I'm happy to talk about it directly as well.
Yeah, definitely, because I think actually there's lots of new little things popping up which perhaps people hadn't have thought of before. I know quite a few of my friends, their children, because they've been off for months, obviously, have started up their own little businesses and things like that. At what age do you need to actually start paying tax? Is it as soon as you start earning income? Because I've got quite a few friends kind of from the age of like 11 plus who are doing little kind of side businesses and online businesses. So I think it's so much easier now for people to...
Yeah, technically anybody, as long as everyone gets an individual, any age, your national insurance number is normally issued when you're 16. But if you do have income younger than that, you can apply for it to be issued before then. I'm not sure whether it's actually allocated it, but I don't quite know. But I know you can apply for it to be sent to you before you're 16. If you've got a job or if you've got employment. So yeah, like I said, if a lot of them are starting up little businesses, they still get their 12.5 tax-free allowance. One thing that said, I know that we had a client that assumed if that they were giving their kids dividends, that they were able to use up their tax-free allowances. There are rules in place for dividends, but actually it's the parent that gets taxed on that if they're under 18. So yeah, that's something to be aware of as well if anyone's doing that. So yeah, don't get caught out on that one.
Yeah, there's so many little loopholes and kind of weird little tweaks that a lot of people are kind of using, but it's kind of drawing the line, isn't it? And where you kind of take it from there.
I think talking about kind of little tax tricks, one of the things, obviously everyone working at home, you can claim £26 a month as a tax-free allowance for working at home. Whether that's the employer can pay you directly that, and that's a deductible expense for them, and it's not taxable income for you, or you can apply to HMRC and they can adjust your tax code accordingly, so you actually get that refunded through your tax code, the tax element back. So again, that's just something that some people aren't aware of. And for us, we've got all of our staff working at home with, I said, 10 staff, and I'm the only one in the office because everyone else is all kind of working from home. But I said we just pay them £26 a month as a kind of a contribution to their additional home expenses. So the contribution towards their utilities and everything, and that's a government allowance, a flat rate allowance.
So talking about obviously working from home, because again, quite a lot of the entrepreneurs and business owners that are in this group obviously do work from home. Can you just run through what the rules and regulations are with regards to not furloughed staff, but obviously standard wise, obviously if you are working and you've got an office at home, what HMRC would gauge as a kind of good taxable amount? Obviously, is it a percentage of the bills and things like that, or?
There's two ways of looking at it. So there's the simplified expenses route, which where you look at working from home. So that's up to £4 a week. So it's £208 a year you could put through and as a deductible expense against your self-employed income. So that is that's the standard simplified route, simplified way of doing it. The other way is to kind of more break it down and to actually look at actual expenses. So that's your maybe your mortgage cost or mortgage interest. Sorry, looking at your rent, your we'll be looking at council tax, utilities, and looking at your actual household expenses as a starting point, and then looking at what proportion you use for the house as a business. So it might be that you have the spare room that you use an office space. So kind of looking at what proportion you use for the house. It might be overall, when you kind of look at the total number of rooms, to exclude toilets, to exclude hallways, it might be that you use 1/6 of your office as your household costs. So potentially you could claim up to 1/6 of your household costs as a use of home allowance. So I think as long as you show a reasonable kind of the methods of doing it, it's got to be a reasonable amount. You can't be claiming thousands upon thousands for one little corner of you using the table in the dining room. It's got to be reasonable, and so we've kind of got a template that we use for our clients, and so it's never been challenged by HMRC, which is good. But yeah, those are the two ways, and generally it works out better. If you're working full time at home in an office, it works out better to look at the actual costs. If somebody's kind of flipping between kind of working at home, working at an office, but yeah, the simplified route. But yeah, no, there's different options there. But yeah, we always look at kind of maximising the tax efficiencies for our clients as well.
Yeah, definitely. And things like cars and stuff like that. Obviously, I know kind of company cars, and they've just been sat there doing nothing for months. And obviously, we've not been going anywhere with mileage and kind of the costings and the tax implication of having these sorts of things. Can you run through a little bit about cars and kind of
company cars are a minefield, to be honest. It's if you are an employee of a big company, then yeah, it's an additional kind of part of your remuneration package, and then you get taxed on that. So depending on the car, if you're working for a bigger company, you would normally get a brand new car. You're taxed on basically the emissions of the vehicle. So the more if it's more gas guzzling CO2 emissions, you're going to pay more tax. If it's a diesel, you also end up paying a premium normally, or you do pay a premium for a diesel engine as well. So basically the higher, the bigger the engine, the CO2 emissions, and the more expensive the car, the more tax you'll pay. So if the car was worth 50,000, and say if it was let's say you look at the percentage, the benefit in kind percentage. So if it was a 20% benefit in kind, you would have effectively, so £50,000 car, 20% benefit in kind rate, you would have deemed additional income of £10,000, and that gets lumped on top, and you pay tax on that £10,000. So if you're a base rate taxpayer, that would be £2,000. If you're a higher rate taxpayer, you'd be paying £4,000 at 40% of that. So, and I said it's fine, but if you're sat at home not working, it's not great. So yeah, traditionally company cars have been used as a kind of remuneration for big businesses. If it's your own company, then we very rarely do we kind of recommend our clients to have company cars, because especially if they're not buying new, it's taxed on the list price. It's all calculated on the list price of the new value. So we had a client, this is in my previous life when I was at another bigger firm of accountants before I set up on my own, but we had a client that came to us and said, I've got myself a 5-year-old BMW, absolute bargain, bought it through, it's a new company car. When we went through and actually did the tax calculations, because he was a higher rate taxpayer, his car was 5 years old, the tax that he paid on that company car was the new value, which was well over 50,000. The tax he was paying as a company car was more than he paid for the car in the first place. So that's why we always look at it. And so if our clients, if any of our clients are looking at getting a company car, we always ask them to send us the details first, so we can do that calculation of whether it's better for them to either buy it as a company car and pay the tax that way, or whether it's better for them to effectively take an additional dividend and look at it that way, to kind of do it that way and pay less tax overall. And then at which point, if you own the car, you can claim back mileage at 45p per mile for the first 10,000 miles. Whereas if it's a company car, you can't kind of claim that back. You can only normally claim around 12 to 14p per mile, which is the
it's quite a bit different.
Like I said, commercial vehicles are much better option as a company vehicle. So even something like a double cab kind of truck, something like a Ford Ranger or a Hilux, they're very popular as a company vehicle, because the tax on a commercial vehicle or van is much better as a company vehicle than a car. So again, that's something we always balance up as well, to make sure our clients are paying as little tax as possible, but obviously keeping it proper, doing it properly.
Yeah, there's a fine balance, isn't it? I think, of just making sure that we tick all the boxes and do it all properly. So I'm just going to, obviously, we've only got about 10 minutes left. So if anybody that is watching has any questions they would like to ask James today, whether that be about the announcements, about any tax questions, should we just open it up and see?
I didn't even finish off what I was talking about on the update. So about the obviously the stamp duty holiday, which is brilliant for any properties under $500,000. If you are looking to invest, we mentioned property earlier on, if you're looking to invest in property or buy a second home, you do get the benefit of the main stamp duty waived under 500,000, but you will pay that 3% premium, assuming it's under $500,000, 3% on the total purchase price. So that's something, but you will pay a lot less than you would have done before Wednesday's announcement.
Is that just till March, I saw, was it?
It's just till the 31st of March next year. So it's a short-term holiday, but I imagine it's going to be a massive boost for the property industry. Also, they want to make this the green recovery, so they're funding a lot of basically funding a lot of investment in making homes more green and more efficient. So the government's going to give grants up to a particular level, 5,000 generally per household, or 10,000 for low-income families. VAT was the other big announcement, something that we've been campaigning for many years, for the hospitality sector to have a reduced rate. Unfortunately, this is just a temporary one. From an accountancy point of view, we've got very short notice to get it all updated on our clients' accounts systems. So see, that's reducing from 20% to 5%, which is brilliant news. And that's on food, accommodation, attractions. Unfortunately, non-alcoholic drinks, not the alcohol ones, they are still rated 20% standards. But it's for 6 months, from the 15th of July until the 12th of January. So again, from an accountancy point of view, it's frustrating for us. It's not nice, clean cut off at the end of the month. And also, again, from a business point of view, I understand they had to time frame it, so it had to be done for 26 weeks officially. But to end it in kind of the middle of the winter season for hospitality businesses, and then to put it back up to 20% when it's their quietest time of year, I think it's ridiculous. It should have been done to the end of February, maybe even the end of March, up to Easter.
It would be a nice place to kind of end it on, isn't it?
Yeah, so just when their income is picking back up again, then done. But for them to have to kind of put it up to 20% from the middle of the winter season on the 12th of January is a bit frustrating. But so they are the hardest hit. The tourism and hospitality sectors have been the hardest hit. So we'll see. And then finally, obviously, the big headline that everyone saw in the newspapers yesterday was about Rishi Dishi's Eat Out to Help Out scheme. So Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, you can eat out at a cafe, restaurant who's registered for the scheme, and basically up to £10 per head, you'll get a 50% discount. So a £20 meal will cost £10, and the businesses will then be able to reclaim that from the government. I'm not sure how frequently they'll be able to do it, but they'll be able to claim that back up to £10 per head from the government, which is great for those businesses. Those quieter days that the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays were quieter days to get people in there. And that's just for August. So that's great. They were rumouring a high street voucher of £500 per person. That didn't come out, but this is still good news for people. So
interesting initiative. I don't think I've ever heard the government anything quite like
it's
this.
The first time they've done this. It's something that I don't think they've ever even considered it. So this one, I mean, it was rumoured, but it's still a very strange scheme for a government to have. Again, similar to what we mentioned about the coronavirus job retention bonus. It's one of these things that we didn't expect. No one it's not one of those things that you'd expect a government to be doing. But again, these are another one of those words that we hear a lot at the moment: unprecedented times. Pivoting and unprecedented, the two words I just seem to my head explodes every time. But it's the right word. These are very unusual, never before had times. So the government are doing things that they've never had to do before either.
I think the whole kind of ethos of taxation is that, obviously, I mean, I know I've been speaking with a couple of other members in the group about how they're going to kind of rewrite these new rules and stuff. And I think sometimes it's better just to scrap it and start again and actually write it in the times that we're in, because I think there's so many outdated ones that are there and so many ones that we don't even know about. I'm sure the book of tax is like massive, and as an accountant, as you know the ins and outs, the rest of the world, unless we kind of ask about it, we don't know, is it?
Yeah, it is. I said tax is a minefield. We're going to wait and see what happens in this autumn budget. Whether like I said, it could be this is the perfect opportunity to tear up the book. We know that the international, I mean, as when most of our tax laws were written, we were pretty much an economy that traded within the United Kingdom, even just Great Britain, excluding Northern Ireland. As an island nation, we traded within ourselves. Over time, we've become an international, it's been globalization. So the tax laws weren't built for that. So they weren't built for kind of big multinational companies to be sending their profits elsewhere. And we've got no real system to be able to stop that. And they have been slowly paying catch up. So it might be that this is the perfect opportunity to get more tax from the Amazons, from the Apples of this world, who kind of trade very heavily in the UK, but pay very little tax. And in fact, I think like Ireland is a lot of the profits go over there and they pay the taxes over there because it's a lower percentage. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It could be a great opportunity for us as a nation.
Yeah, definitely. I think there needs to be a big reform with regards to how tax is collected. I know you've had lots of initiatives with making tax digital and things like that. There's been lots of changes to kind of bring it a little bit more up to the 21st century. And I think 2020 for most people has been a very unusual year. It's been full of surprises, some good ones, some bad ones. And I think, as I said, a lot of people now are kind of trying to work out where to go for the rest of the year, aren't they? And kind of reset their goals, look at what they've been given and how to work out from that point of view. And I think a lot of people are feeling a little bit like the system is a bit unfair for a lot of people. But again,
and that's something we've been campaigning with as well, and kind of the excluded being part of that. Forgotten LTD, we've shared our thoughts with that. We've talked to our MPs, we've been involved in chambers of commerce. I'm the treasurer of the Torbay Business Forum as well, so through that, Torbay Development Agency, to TDA, they've been involved in our daily webinars as well, and we've been feeding back to them the information that we're getting from our clients. So a lot of the stuff that we're hearing has been fed up the chain to the government. Unfortunately, with regards to those excluded individuals, there just hasn't been any budge, any give. Next week, Mel Stride, who's a Devon MP, he's also the chair of the Treasury Select Committee, the one that kind of holds the government to account or the Treasury to account, and he's kind of very passionate. I mean, they've suggested that the number of people who are excluded there should be more flexibility, really. So there is a meeting next week between, I believe, Rishi Sunak, Chancellor, and Mel Stride as the Treasury Select Committee. So we'll see if anything comes from that. I said there's a huge numbers of people.
I'm actually one of the ones that were excluded. I had no help whatsoever, and I think actually, I did a little post on LinkedIn yesterday. I kind of sat down and just reflected a little bit on my year, because I've had so many changes going on with selling my business, with getting divorced, buying a new house, selling a new house, lots of personal changes going on from that point of view, but also ones that meant that actually I wasn't eligible for any grants, I wasn't eligible for furlough, I wasn't eligible for anything from that point of view. But I think, again, it's looking at obviously how much energy goes into complaining about it and kind of feeling sorry for yourself, or actually using that pivot to push forward. And I started a new company in lockdown and thought, sort of, if they're not going to help me, I'm just going to go and do it myself. But I think it's having that voice, isn't it, and kind of really taking it to the next level. I think with social media and the way that we interact in this country now, it's a lot easier to speak to people of authority and people that are the change makers. And if enough of us kind of bring together a wave of change, then I said, hopefully they will listen as well, as
I think that's the frustration in the Forgotten LTD and Excluded are both massive campaigns. There's been change.org petitions, there's been the government, the parliament.uk ones as well. And it's just a frustration that there's been a very strict line that we can't include directors' dividends because we can't differentiate it between an investment income or whether it's a remuneration, which most company directors are. I mean, if anybody's watching that's not aware, that most company directors will structure their income so they pay a PAYE salary below the national insurance rates, and then they top their income up with dividends. The first 2,000 are tax-free, and then the rest are taxed at 7.5%. So yes, overall,
what kind of we were told by accountants, Jane. Obviously, when we're talking about tax planning, and I said, obviously, this is excluded because PAYE element to it, and the rest we're taking as dividends. But again, that doesn't. As I said, it's a very tricky one, and I think obviously we're going to have to change the way that we look at how we do things to make sure that we are a bit more protected going forward. A lot of businesses thought the insurance was going to pay out as well. Don't we take insurance? And
watch this space with that though. So there is a big test case going through this month. Relating to I think UK hospitality, pushing forward with that one. So I think there's 7 insurance companies that are being in court. If that does go through and they are forced to pay out, that's going to have massive repercussions. Yes, they're going to pay out, which is great, but I imagine what we'll see is some big drops or big increases in insurance premiums going forward. So we'll see what happens.
Definitely, it's going to be quite exciting, isn't it? No, we're going to wrap up in a second.
My battery's just died at my AirPod as well, so hopefully you can still hear me.
Love that. Yes, still hear you. It's all good. So yeah, nobody's come forward with any questions, so everybody must be kind of
Brilliant.
on
I
board
said,
with it.
if anybody's got any questions at all,
Yeah.
feel free to drop me a line. I said, my name's James Twigger, you see it on the screen.
Oh,
But
that's
my business is Accounting for Everything. There we go. There's the logo there. So that's our Facebook page as well.
Yep, lovely. And yeah, obviously, if you can just summarise it and pop it in the group, in both the groups as well afterwards, and then as somebody wants to speak with you, then they can come forward, ask any questions, and
Thanks.
that's been awesome. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you for the opportunity to do this. Really appreciate it. And I said, if anyone's got any questions, yeah, drop me a line. It's no problem.
Thank you, James. Okay, lovely. Excellent stuff. Well, that was James Twigger, and yeah, what a week to take off and enjoy family time. But it's one of those things, isn't it? All these announcements come when we least expect them. But hope that's been of use to you. James is a really open, friendly guy to obviously ask any questions to going forward. So we'll make sure that we put all of his links in there. If you would like any more advice on accountancy or how the changes are going to affect you, as I said, do come forward, and we will always do our best to try and help. So I'm Jo Lyons, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.